Hi, my name is Alyssa and I'm Brightly's low waste lifestyle expert. If you're into sustainability, subscribe down below, become a change maker. But other than that, let's get started. So today we are talking about what to say when you are put in situations when you are either offered an item you don't want, or most of the time that ends up being something like a single-use plastic. So to maybe some people, you might be thinking, why am I watching this video? You know, all you have to do is say no. This doesn't make a lot of sense. But to me, I know when I first started living more sustainably and I tried to refuse these items, it was actually really hard for me. I kind of needed a little push, I was a little anxious to go ahead and just like demand that I didn't want these items. So I am just going to include a couple little tips, a couple phrases to keep in mind. So feel free to save this video, keep it on hand for the next time you're going to go out. So we're talking about things like free handouts, straws, plastic bags, and just how to avoid them in a way that makes you feel comfortable. So let's get into it. So first, let's talk about plastic bags. So I live in a more rural area outside of a local city in the Midwest. So sustainability is not really top of mind and not really a key focus here. So if your grocer is great, they're awesome, they really understand this stuff, good for you. But that is not the case for everybody. So I just want to chat about some ways to kind of get over that hurdle. So my number one tip to just avoid the debacle entirely is to mention it as you walk up to the counter. So usually as you start to walk up, they ask how you're doing. I say good, how are you? They answer, and I hold my items while I have that interaction with them. I keep them in my hands because usually I'm only buying a couple things, maybe a little different if you have like one of those cart full of things. And then as I go to put my stuff down, I will go ahead and say, by the way, I don't need a bag for these. I have one right here. Just so it cues to them that they don't need to even reach for that bag. It doesn't even need to happen. That is one of my favorite routes to go because it just starts to avoid this situation entirely. So I don't have to stop them when they're starting to bag or anything like that. So say it right away, get it out of the way. What happens if you don't have your reusable bag with you? So sometimes if it's just one item, I will say, don't worry about it, I don't need it bagged up, I will just carry it out. But if I have multiple items and I want to kind of armful them out of there, what I will say is that I have something in the car to put them in. So again, just set it down. By the way, I don't need a bag for these. I actually am going to throw it in something that I have in my car. Now, I also live in an area where a lot of times these single-use plastic items, like a plastic bag, for example, is almost considered a customer service item. So a lot of times a response I'll get back to this statement is something like, are you sure it's free? Or are you sure it's no problem? So being in an area where sustainable living is not super widespread, sometimes I will just say something like, I'll be totally honest and say, you know, I'm just doing it. I'm trying to avoid single-use plastics. It's just easier for me to put in my bag. But most of the time I skip that first part and I just say, don't worry about it. My bag's really durable. It just makes it easier for me to get it to my car. 9 times out of 10, that does the trick and I leave with my reusable bag or the items in my hand. Now, there is something that still, after all this happens on occasion, and it's that as the cashier goes throughout their process, automatically they will forget what I said and they will just go ahead and start putting it in a bag when I'm not looking or not paying attention. So this happens, and what do I do if this happens? Honestly, I just take the bag. Mostly because of COVID restrictions, I know if I give that bag back to them, they will probably just throw it away because I had already touched it or it has already been used. So what I do is I take that bag home and I typically do one of 3 things with it. 1, I line all of my small trash bins with this. This is super common, so they go in things like my bathroom trash bins. 2, I use them as doggy bags. So instead of buying doggy bags, a lot of times you'll see me out there with things like bagel bags and plastic bags, picking up dog waste that way. Or 3, if I have some plastic bags left behind, I try to take them with me to local parks and hikes, and I make a day out of it into doing a litter pickup day, where as I walk around, I get some gloves, whatever I need, and I pick up litter and put it in the bag and then throw the bag away. Now, another option is to just keep them around and take them to a bag recycling drop-off. A lot of grocery stores have this now. I believe Target has one as well. And although this is great, I just personally try to get second use out of them instead of storing storing them up because I don't get that many anyways and taking them all the way to somewhere else. Let's move on to scenario number 2, and that is plastic straws. So I know it can kind of feel weird and nerve-wracking, but at drive-thrus, I do try to avoid them. What I personally found works best is that instead of saying it through the little speaker while I'm ordering that I want no straw, usually by the time I get there, it's forgotten or it's a different person. So usually when I get up to the window to grab my food, before they hand me the drink or whenever I pay, I will mention that I do not need a straw. That way the interaction just happened and they're more likely to remember. And if I'm out and I'm in person and I'm ordering at a bar or at a restaurant, I will just go ahead and as I order say that I need no straw, because that interaction happens pretty quickly, so there's less time to forget than in a drive-thru. In a restaurant, I just say something like, oh no thank you, I don't need a straw, you can reuse these somewhere else. Or in a drive-thru, I typically say, thank you, but I do not need a straw today. I actually have one of my own. And again, if a situation happens where I get the straw anyways, I just use it. And in fact, I actually have a little stash of them in my car that I keep around in case I ever do want a straw and actually don't get one, because sometimes it's the opposite where like you do want a straw and you don't get the straw. Yeah, I just keep them around. And the final scenario is free handouts. So a lot of times this is things like samples or swag from companies. I actually see this a lot on my college campus. So a lot of times there will be things like booths around, local vendors, things like that, and they'll want to give you samples or business cards, things of that sort. So sometimes if I'm in a conversation with a vendor or somebody at a booth and they want to give me their business card, I will instead say that I will go ahead and jot their information in my phone or take a picture of it. Or if it's just a quick scenario where I'm just walking by somebody and they're offering a business card, I will just imply that I will look them up online later. That way I'm not collecting all these little pamphlets, flyers, pieces of paper that I don't really need. And if you didn't actually want it, you can just delete the pictures on your phone. It's a lot easier. And in terms of swag, sometimes it can be super hard to turn it down, because if it's something like a pen or a notebook, you think, oh, I'll probably use that. But just ask yourself a few questions in your head. Do you actually need this item? Will you actually use this item? And do you already have this item at home? Because come on, chances are you probably have a few pens at home you can already use. So a lot of times avoiding items like that is just a simple mindset change. But that is all I have for this video. If you like more videos like this, let me know. If there's anything else you want me to cover, let me know in the comments down below. I hope this could help anybody out who is feeling kind of anxious about avoiding things, doing the refuse part of the R's. But other than that, leave a like down below, subscribe to this channel if you love sustainable living, and we'll see you next time.